Can you make 2,000 bucks a month in less than an hour a day on eBay? Well, I am here to tell you how it might be possible. Hey everyone, this is Prof Sales and welcome to the Prof Sales YouTube channel. This is where we talk about reselling, we talk about being an entrepreneur, we talk about your mindset, we talk about motivation, and also just helping you be a better business person and hopefully learning some lessons you can apply to your business that will help you make more profits and just have an overall healthier approach to business in general. So this show is going live right now. There's a live chat. And if you ever want to join us, you can join us on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Live show. You can leave a comment. You can ask a question. And of course, you can do those things after this video post as well. So if you hear me talking to people in the chat, that is what we're doing. But we're going to jump into this today. And the topic is interesting because I think a lot of people out there in internet land have a lot of interesting ideas about, shall we say, what is possible to do on eBay, how much you can make, how much effort it takes. Because isn't it really the real question, how much effort it's going to take, not how much can you make? You could make, a ridiculous amount of money, but it's going to require maybe a lot of effort, maybe more than you can put in, a skill set you don't have. But I wanted to talk about the most important commodity you have, which is time, and how you use that to leverage an income off of eBay. So we're going to use the whiteboard today. We haven't broke that out in a while, and that'll be kind of cool, hopefully. And if you have questions, try to save them till the end a little bit, but we will also take some of them as they come along. If somebody has a question or I see a comment, I'll respond to it best I can. So hope you guys are having a great start to your day, and we're going to jump into this topic and see what we got. All right, I have my handy dandy yellow notepad with my chicken scratch on it. And I'm going to write a few things up. So let's say our goal is this. Our goal. $2,000 a month. All right. That's our goal. Now, I know some of you are going to immediately say, well, what do you mean, Prof? Do you mean net or do you mean gross? Gross sales. And here's the reason why we're going to talk about gross sales. I can't know how much your sourcing cost is exactly, or what your other business expenses are, or how much you need to take out of the business, or what your tax bracket is. I mean, I can talk in generalities about those things, and I can talk about my own situation, but we're just starting at a number. And if you decide that you want to get into eBay and you want to sell and you want to make 4,000, all right, then double what we're about to go through here. If you want to make 6,000, triple it. If you want to make 1,000, cut it in half. So I'm just picking a number that I think that a lot of people would begin to take interest at. Oops, almost lost my my camera setting there. That could have been bad. And $2,000 might mean something to you, might not mean anything to you, but I think for a lot of people, that's at a point where it would start to become kind of serious. It would start to be meaningful income, and how much you net from that, it's got a lot of factors into it. It could be anywhere from a low end of maybe 10, 15, 20%, all the way up to maybe high end. Maybe you're netting, 70, 75%. That would be pretty high. But we're just going to start with this revenue goal. So this is gross sales. So I'm going to give you a quick brief rundown. What's our average selling price of our item? So I'm going to use a selling price, and you could argue this includes shipping, all right? Or maybe, your selling price is a little bit lower this, and with the shipping, it equals this. So we're going to say, we're going to take an average selling price of 25 bucks an item, all right? Now, I'm going to say you're going to sell 100 items a month. Now, why that number? 100's an easy number to figure out, right? It just makes the math simple. Now, some of you might be saying, well, that's if we sell 100 items a month at an average selling price of 25 bucks, that's $2,500 a month. That's not 2,000. You're right. I'm giving us a little cushion here, a little bit of padding, just in case this drops, or just in case even this drops. But I'm just trying to give us a little bit of a cushion here, and it makes the math a lot simpler to figure out this way as well. So we've got our average selling price. We've got how many items we want to sell a month with our padded, $500 extra padding in there. So now the question becomes, how many listings do we need to reach this? Do we need? Sell through is just how quickly you will sell your items, what percentage of items you'll sell over, in this case, a month. All right. So we're going to assume a 25% sell through. That means we're going to sell a quarter of our items every month. All right. Now, that's not a crazy number because a lot of people average around that amount. Some are higher than that amount, actually. Some can be like 35 or 40%. Some are 10 or 15. Your mileage may vary, but I don't think it's a crazy number to have to hit for lots of reasons, at least in my experience and the experience of other resellers in the community. So take that for what it's worth, but I think it's a reasonable number to shoot for. So if you do a little math here, 400 items listed times a 25% sell-through, let's say this is ST, equals 100 items. All right? So you need 400 items listed at a 25% sell-through to sell 100 items a month. Now, logically, this was the point where I said, that's not a huge number of items, but that's not an easily listable in like 1 hour a day items either, right? If you spent 1 hour a day for a month doing all this and you only had 30 hours a month to work in your business, getting that many items listed, that many items sourced, that many items photographed would be a real challenge. Doable, but a lot of people are not going to be able to do that right away. So this is what I came up with. So goal up there. So here's what you're going to have to do to make this work, guys. You're going to have to put in some time on the front end before you even really get going on this. So here's what you're going to need to do. You're going to need to source you need to source 400 items, right? If you want to list 400 items, you got to source 400 items. Makes sense? How long is that going to take you? I think from my experience that I can do 10 items per hour, and that includes drive time, because you go to a store, you buy 20 items, you leave, you go to another store, you go to a estate sale, a garage sale, wherever, you buy a bunch of items and you go to another one. That even includes the drive time. So that means you're going to need 40 hours, 400 divided by 10. You're also going to need to list and photo 400 items. I think you can also do this in about 40 hours. 10 an hour is not crazy if you're in a good niche where you can go fairly quickly through them. I know some of you would say, my time is longer than that. And I would say if you can't do an item in 6 minutes, listing and photographing it, you need to kind of work on some of your processes, maybe getting your photos more efficient, your listing, using listing templates, things like that. Items per hour. So that equals 40 hours. And then you're also going to need to, every month, pack and ship 100 items. And I think you can do that in about 4 hours on average, 25 an hour, because you're going to go pull a bunch of items. You're going to come down, you're going to pack them up, whatever. That doesn't take that long. But let's round it up to, let's see, 40 and 40. is 80, and then we'll say 85 hours. We'll just round this up to 5. So 40 hours and 40 hours and plus 5 for packing and shipping. So you're going to need, and this will happen as you sell. So this is kind of on the back end, but you're going to need 80 hours to get going. You're going to need 80 hours to find all these items. You're going to need list and photo, all these items total. And so you're going to need to, you know what, let's leave this off for the moment, pack and ship, because that's kind of confusing. You're going to need 80 hours to do all that. That's what you're going to have to spend on the front end. I don't know how else you could do it. I mean, you could piecemeal it and go at it, you know, an hour here, hour there. That's fine. There's no right or wrong here, but you're going to need to put in that time on the front end to do that. All right. So 80 hours to get this set up. And after 80 hours, you should be theoretically, now these need to be 80 productive hours, guys. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to list for 5 minutes and then check Facebook for 10. Like that won't cut it. You need to be focused and driven and say, I'm going to get these done and get, you know, I'm going to work this hour and get this done and so on. Somebody already says list and photo of clothing item in 6 minutes, impossible. Do it all the time, Krillin. I do it jeans like Kaaren can confirm it. Done it many times. It doesn't really take that long. Only take 5 photos, and the listing process takes about 2.5 minutes. The photos take about 3.5 for each one. Batch them together, and just go over and roll through them. Not a big deal. Every item's a little different, so some you have to spend a little more time with. I get that, but it's not impossible to do them that fast. And I know, like Chris Lynn, 10K on the Bay, and Luke at Endless Entrepreneurs, we've had discussions about this, and our listing times were very similar, even though we had somewhat different items. But it's definitely doable if you kind of get your processes right and batch it together, you know, however it works for you. But so you've spent your 80 hours, you've listed 100 or 400 items, and now you're going to sell through. You're going to sell. I'm going to erase this. So you're going to sell 100 items per month, right? That's what we need to sell, which means you're going to need to go back out and source those items that you sold and list and photograph them. So every month you're going to have to source 100. You're going to have to list and photo. And this is where the pack and ship should have really been. So we'll say pack and ship. We'll just say it takes 5 hours for that. Sourcing is going to take around 10. Listing and photo is also going to take around 10. So if you add those up, you could, once you get up to around 400 items, if you're selling through at 25%, you could maintain that by sourcing 100, listing and photoing those 100, and packing and shipping the 100 you're selling in about 25 hours a month. So if we divide that by 30, it's less than an hour a day. So I guess when you think about this, and we know if we're selling 100 per month times even $20 average selling price, that would be $2,000, right? So I'm not suggesting this is all there is to an eBay business, but if you can get your listings up to around 400 and stay there and consistently do these things, which will kind of, you know, keep your listings fresh and help your listings sell better. And there's other things you would want to do. There's some other things I've left out here. You're going to have a little bit of time dealing with customer issues and, you know, ordering supplies and things like that. But the actual process of it is not much more than that. Once you get to this point, if you can maintain that sell-through of 25% sell-through. Now, again, if your sell-through drops below that, this is going to drop because you're not going to sell as many of these. If this fluctuates, then you don't have to maybe sell as many, or maybe you need to sell more to reach that. So as these numbers move, you know, obviously what you make is going to change. But the bottom line is if you're willing to put in, that initial 85, 90 hours of work to get your listings up somewhere around this, and you can sell for somewhere around this ASP of 20 bucks, yeah, you could do this. You could literally maintain a $2,000 a month eBay business in gross sales in less than an hour per day on average. Now, when you spend these hours is going to be interesting. And by the way, if you're selling 100 per month, you know, that's basically 3.3 per day on average, 3.3 items. So some days you sell 4, some days you sell 5, some days you sell 2, you know, some days you sell 1. It's not a huge number of items to sell. So I don't think that's really that crazy of a number. Now, where this gets tricky is you've got to be able to figure out what, you know, your selling prices, what you're sourcing. I mean, those things are important. I'm not suggesting you can just go source any old items and they'll sell through at 25% a month for 20 bucks on average per item. I'm not suggesting that. That's not the case. You've still got to do research. You've still got to be able to go out and hit your niche. But like I've even thought about doing this. Like I could start a second store on eBay and see if this would work. I know that some other people have done similar experiments and so on, but with jeans, I know pretty much what's going to sell for 20 bucks plus. All right. You know, like we showed in the recent guide we just did, there's plenty of jeans brands out there that will sell for 25 bucks and up. Not a problem to find those. It's just a matter of, can you get enough of them to start with and then just continue that 100? Because all you're really having to do once you get up to your number is just maintain. That's all you really have to do. And I think the amount of time to do it is not crazy because, you know, if you're averaging 25 bucks, if you're averaging $25 ASP and you're selling 100 per, and you're only spending 100 hours or 25 hours a month to do it, that's a pretty good hourly rate, right? To make 2,500 and you're spending 25 hours a month to do it, it's effectively $100 an hour average rate. Now, your expenses have to come out of that. That's not all profit. I'm not suggesting that for a moment. Great hourly rate, especially for what's a part-time job. I mean, this is basically, what is it, a little over 6 hours a week maybe on average, which is not much. I mean, that's like one shift at, you know, a particular job. Now, the tricky thing about eBay is because you're going to be packing and shipping things out on a regular basis, you're not going to be able to spend 6 hours all at once necessarily. You're going to have to kind of space that out over each day, over each week. But you effectively could earn a gross hourly rate here of 100 bucks an hour with this kind of model. Now, again, your expenses are going to come out of that, your taxes, all these things. That's not all profit. So don't walk away from this and say, Prof said we can make 100 bucks an hour, but you can on the gross by this math. I mean, I don't think it's crazy math to do it. Here's what's interesting to me, and we'll take some questions here in a minute, or what I find interesting about this whole exercise. I think for most people to even get to the 400 listings seems like such a big slog that they never get there. And then once they do get there, they don't want to maintain the sourcing and packing and shipping and listing and photoing 100 items per month. Even though that's only 3.3 items a day. It's not a crazy amount. This is like those old commercials back in the 80s that Sally Struthers did. It's like, hey, for just 13 cents a day, you can feed a child. Well, when you break it down to a daily amount like that, it doesn't seem like a lot because it really isn't a lot. But a lot of people will look at this number and go, 400 listings, I got 100 listings, and it felt like it took me forever to get there. It really didn't. It's just that here's what happens to us, or what happened, and it happens to me too. So you start out and you say, I'm going to list 100 things on eBay. And you start on November 1st, which is today. And then November 30th comes around and you've only got 50 listed. And you're like, oh my gosh, it took me a month to list 50 items. No, it didn't. That's just the amount of time that passed between when you next checked and when you started. It didn't actually take you 30 days to do that. You just weren't on it for 30 days. I mean, this is a math problem. It doesn't take hours and hours and hours and hours to list just a couple items. That's just reality. What happens is we space it out over so much time that we get to the end of that time and maybe we're not happy with our results. So we go, oh man, I've been listing for 3 months now and only have 150 items up. This is ridiculous. It's taken so long and blah, blah, blah. And we come up with all these weird excuses that really don't hold water when you think about it. But you could do this and gross $2,000 a month. Now, I know some of you are going to say, but where do I find items that will sell for 25 bucks or 20 bucks? You know, getting up, you know, there are sellers who sell even clothing, pre-owned clothing, and they're very picky. They're select, don't get me wrong. And they might not even have 400 listings a month or up at any one time. They might only have 200, 250. But their average selling price is, you know, double this or even a little more. So it's like, you know, like if your average selling price was 40 bucks, you would only need 200 listings, right? You basically cut it in half because your average selling price doubled, the amount of listings you need is cut in half. And there are items that will sell for $40 on average. There's plenty of pre-owned clothing items that will do that. So you got to decide, like, what do you have? What do you have around you? What is your skill set? What's your experience been with with the items in your area that you can find these items that will sell for 20 bucks or 25 bucks a piece? Or if you want to go bigger and say, I want to look for the items that'll sell for 35 or 40 or $45, now you don't need as many of these. Granted, I think those items are going to be a little more rare, but you're not going to need as many of them. So there's a trade-off to be had there. You know, if you were selling, say, suiting, for instance, suiting will sell for more than $20 on average. The downside to suiting is it doesn't sell through as quickly. You probably won't sell 1/4 of your blazers and jackets and suits a month. Maybe, but that's probably high for somebody who sells those. They're more of a long tail item. They tend to sit a little longer. So if you weren't selling through as quickly on them, then you would have to have more of them to make up for the less number you're going to sell. Instead of selling, you know, 100 per month, you might only sell 30. And granted, it's at a higher price point, but you're still not going to make your income goal here of 2,000 bucks. So it's all, those things all kind of go hand in hand. Like, how do you want to trade off for? Do you want to buy an item that will sell for more, but you're probably not going to find as many of them, or maybe it will sit longer? Or do you want to flip through lower priced items that won't earn you as much per sale, but maybe you can turn a little more volume with them? It comes back to this one variable that we talked about at the beginning, and that is time. How much time do you have to put in this? Can you put 80, 90 hours into eBay over the course of, say, 30 days? That would be aggressive, but say you do that and you get up to this 400 listings and you hit this ASP of what you have listed. If you're hitting this sell-through percentage, you're going to hit around this income amount. You're going to hit around 2,000 to 2,500 bucks a month. You're only going to need to maintain. You're going to need to maintain. This doesn't seem like, if I told you you can gross 2,000 bucks a month or even 2,500 bucks a month, and you only got to spend 25 hours a month to do it, you probably do it. But what stops people is, like I said, they don't even want to get here. They think, 400 listings, that's a lot. Or I'm struggling because my sell-through is not as good, which can be the result of a lot of different reasons. So they kind of get defeated before they even start. So I just think that so when you see these claims on the internet saying, hey, can you make X number of dollars, it's doable to do this. I'm not going to tell you it's super, super easy, because getting to this point is where a lot of people get stopped up. So Anyway, so I will hope that made sense. We will take some questions here and comments. I know some people had some in the chat. Deborah. Oh, so is the $25 before or after the 13 or 12% fee we pay eBay or PayPal? It's before, Deborah, because the reality is everybody out there has different selling levels. Some people are top rated. Some people have stores, so they have different fee structures. We're not talking about what you net from this because there's a lot of variables that go into that. I think if you're smart with your sourcing and you have good, adequate sourcing near you, let's say it's clothing, which is an area that I'm more familiar with, you could get your cost of good down to maybe $3-4 an item, maybe even lower. And so therefore you would have you'd have $22 of gross profit to play with there in terms of the fees and everything. So even after fees and all that, you still could be looking at clearing, you know, $12-13 an item in a lot of cases, even if you did free shipping, depending on what you're selling. So it's before those fees, but like I said, it's just too complicated of a question to say exactly what you'll make. I think you can probably hit a percentage around, you know, 35-40% of that is net profit, maybe pre-tax profit, maybe even higher, maybe even 50% in some cases. Is that worth it to you? I don't know. I mean, you tell me. There's a lot of different ways to do this. If you treat eBay like a job, you would do 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week, and 120 hours a month. No excuses. Yeah, I agree with you, Darren. But the problem is that there's nobody holding our feet to the fire. And a lot of people, even who work 40-hour-a-week jobs, don't really put in 40 productive hours. You know, some hours are more productive than others. Some work their butt off. Let's be honest. But others are kind of like, maybe I'm really only putting in a good 20-25 hours a week, and the rest of the time is I'm sort of floating through. And I think we do that in business too. It's easy to do, especially when you work for yourself.
Are you charging shipping this week?
Do you wash your jeans, and how do you prevent bed bugs? If I could prevent bed bugs, I would be in that business and not reselling clothing business. There's no way to prevent bed bugs. Totally. I do not wash them, but I make sure they're in great pre-owned condition before I even pick them up or sell them. Some of these are funny. 400 listings only looks like a lot when you have 50. When you have 400, you'll say that wasn't all that much. Yeah, that is very true, Thomas. I mean, it's all perception based on your perspective. And you're exactly right. You know, when here becomes, or when there becomes here, now you need to set a new there to aim for. And you're right. Once you get to 400, you're like, oh, I was at 400. Actually, they'd given me like 800 listings I could put up. And then they moved me up to like 2,400 or some ridiculous jump. And I went, oh my gosh, like, you know, so, and then you start thinking about, well, could I get there? I don't know, maybe, you know, it starts feeling more real. Do you charge shipping? Not a lot these days, Fuse products, but it depends on the item. On shoes, yes. Let's see here. Would you say shopping at the bins is high risk for bed bugs? No, any more than anywhere else, Tony. I mean, you know, just be careful with what you get. I think it's one of those things where, like, when you hear the one story or two stories about somebody who had that encounter, you forget the dozens or hundreds of stories where people go to the bins or a thrift store or wherever, and there's no issue. There's no issue. So we tend to focus on the sensational, and we tend to forget that most of the time you're not going to have that issue. So I really wouldn't worry about bed bugs that much. They are there, but I just don't think they're as big a problem as a lot of people think. What's your sourcing holy grail and personal holy grail? That's an interesting question. Fear of God jeans is the one I really want to find. You know, it's like Gary V buying the jets. Gary V doesn't expect he'll ever buy the jets. But the goal, the pursuit of it is an interesting drive all in itself. So the pursuit of fear of God jeans, finding a pair, is interesting. Like it's interesting. Like I walk in every store and think, oh, I'm going to find fear of God here today, maybe. And I don't. But if I do, you guys will hear about it. Let's see. What's the difference between a business account and a personal account? Should I switch to a business account to list more? I'm not sure if what you're talking about there. Are you talking about on PayPal? Are you talking about eBay? I'm not sure what you're talking about there. I know a lot of talk about bed bugs all of a sudden. I should have covered that, the bed bug angle. Would you recommend a second tier store once you reach 400 listings? On Kaling 98, if you're going to save money or not with the store versus what your insertion fees. If the store is cheaper than the amount that you're listing each month, you should get the store. I mean, I just look at it that way. That's the biggest advantage. It doesn't seem like someone else can maybe clear this up. It doesn't seem like eBay is giving the free listings like they used to, the free insertion fee listings. I may be wrong, but I'm just not seeing those offers come through. I mean, I have a store anyway, but maybe someone can confirm. It seems like last year they were doing that a lot more, and this year it doesn't seem like it's been as prevalent, but maybe I'm just not.
I'm not getting them in my store, and mine's a lot smaller than yours.
Yeah, Kaaren says she's not getting them on her account either. Let's see. Do you charge shipping on jeans? Usually not. Padded flat rates are $6.30, so I fold that price into. And by the way, that helps push up to this amount too, and I don't lose money on the shipping. You only really lose money on free shipping when the item gets sent back to you. Then that kind of sucks. But see. Do you guys list your own old stuff just to have something to list on slow days? Do you mean like our personal items? No, if that's what you mean. But no, not really.
I told her I sell all the things. Be careful.
I know, right? How do you get smallpox off bin blankets?
Oh,
jeez, what is wrong with you guys? That was pretty funny. Hopefully there's no smallpox out there. I'll take bed bugs over smallpox any day. That's a no-brainer. Ed says he hasn't seen an offer for a long, long time. Yeah, I don't think they're doing that as much. So when you're thinking about a store, and I think eBay has that calculator still on it somewhere where you can compare stores versus, what you're not having a store. Because it used to be you could not have a store and they give you so many free insertion fee free listings that it didn't really matter because you could still list for free. But now that's not the case. So it becomes a math problem, and you have to decide, am I listing enough to really pay for the cost of the store? And if you're not, get rid of the store. I don't think anyone's ever proven the store has much to do with your sales. It did give you the ability to do markdowns and run promotions like that, but and that's a value, but even that's got its own set of challenges right now. Do you look at the total price with shipping and calculating ASP? Of course. The shipping has got to be folded in there somewhere, because that's why it's great to sell a niched item like jeans, because the shipping with the padded flat rate's the same anywhere in the United States it goes, or even GSP, because I use that. So I know what I'm going to pay for shipping, so I can figure that out when I'm doing my pricing. But if you're shipping things that are different weights and sizes, and you got to use different boxes and shipping services, then using free shipping becomes a lot more complicated. Can you talk a little more about how you speed up your processes? I'm struggling to go faster with photographing and listing. Well, that's a great question, Brooke. And one thing I would say is take some time to research those subjects, through YouTube, because there's a lot of resellers out there who have systems, and myself included, that will help you, and maybe you can take something from it. If you're selling in a niche and you're selling the same type of item over and over, batching tasks together seems to be the quickest way for a majority of people, not everybody, but we like to batch quality control together. We'll quality control a whole bunch of items. Then we will batch photos together. We'll take 10, 20, 30 photos of items together. Then we'll batch the listings together. We'll do 10 or 20 listings at a time. So you kind of get in that groove. Sorry, somebody just dinged eBay. So, and using listing templates, that will help you as well. Creating templates that, like, because if you're selling the same item over and over, chances are a lot of the same information is on your listings. So that template will save you from having to select that every time. And you don't want to discount any time savings you get. I mean, saving 10 cents, saving 10 seconds on every listing adds up. Every 6 listings, that's a minute. So over time, you know, that can add up to a lot of time. And you look for those little efficiencies. People always want to find this big life-changing moment with their listings and how to do them quicker. It's usually just a lot of little things. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So those are some tips, and there's plenty more out there. If you ship priority or flat rate priority, my USPS office said it's free return shipping. Is that true for you, Prof? I have not heard that, Darren, and if that's true, that's amazing. So if anybody can confirm that, I would love to know that answer to that question, because that would be huge. My death pile is so big, I'll never run out of stuff to list. I wish. Stop buying, Marilyn. Don't buy another thing. There's your tip. There's your tip for the day. That was pretty funny. Let's see, fee illustrator calculator. Yes, Sassy Seller, that was the concept I was looking for, to show you what stores will cost you and if it makes sense or not. And it's on eBay's site. So, and there's other places that will show you too. There's some other calculators on the internet. Pomona says, I still do get offers of at least 100 additional listings a month. That's cool. I mean, that helps. 100 is, you know, that helps. Batching and using templates, Thomas says, absolutely. I mean, I think that's a big key. It really does help. Templates help a lot, because I'll just click, hey, women's jeans, and it's going to put a lot of things already in there that are pre-filled. I don't have to go in and select again, and I know they'll be right. Like, I'll know, oh, it's got free shipping, 60-day returns, immediate pay through PayPal. It's got the category selected. You know, just things like that just make it a lot simpler. It's even got a price. I'll even set a price on that template. And then sometimes I'll change that price depending on what the item is, obviously, but it'll just kind of be in there. So, you know, at least I'll know somewhere around where I want to be with that particular type of item. Let's see. Is it better to use templates or sell similar? Is there a big difference? Purple Lily, that's come up a few times, and I am not a huge fan of sell similar, especially if you're not super detail oriented and if you're a little bit prone to missing things. Because if that sell similar has something in it different than what your item is and you don't catch it and then it sells, you've got to honor that. You said that, and that can happen. It can happen on lots of things. It could happen on the shipping or a detail, you know, what have you. And I just think the template is easily as fast as a sell similar. I know some people say, oh, sell similar is it's the fastest way. I've tried it both ways. I think my way is just as quick, and I don't have to worry about selling similar and somebody else's listing was a little different than mine or had something on it I didn't want, and then I missed it because it was a sell similar. I don't know. That's just my opinion on sell similar, but there's nothing wrong with it. I just think you have to be careful using it. Ed says, I kind of get bored editing a ton of photos or sitting less for a couple hours, like to mix it up. Yeah, I think that's smart too, Ed. I mean, it's tough to sit there and just grind through, you know, 100 items to photograph. I mean, you're going to get it sore and stiff, and, you know, it's thing in the world. It's nice to kind of mix it up for most people. Take breaks, you know, take a break, go outside, walk around the block, stretch your legs. Don't stay in, you know, all inside all day. Don't stay in, you know, one position where your body's going to get all stiff. I think that's important to do. So that's a great point to kind of switch it up a little bit. Sell similar of your own item. You could do that. I mean, if you're using the same, you could. I don't know. You still got to put the photos in. If the size is different, you're gonna have to put that in. I'm just thinking about with my particular category, pricing might be different. And at that point, that's pretty much what I fill out on a template. I mean, that's not a lot different. I I don't know. It's personal preference. I just think I've tried it both ways. For me, a template is just as fast because I don't have to worry about making a mistake, you know, that I miss. I just use that. But sell similar in your own items would help minimize some of those mistakes. So that makes sense. Let's see.
Don't we do the same thing that Diana just typed
What's that?
about copying the title?
Copy the title. I used to use sell similar. Now I copy the title from the item and go to my template. It's faster because I don't have to click each thing I want to change. Yes. So Diana brings up a great point, and I think we're saying the same thing here, Diana. So I put the item, you know, when I'm creating a spot for that item to go in my inventory, I'm putting the title in my spreadsheet on a row in the spreadsheet. And then when I've got the listing window open too, and I just copy that title and, you know, anything else straight to my inventory label, printer, boom, print that, and then copy and paste that title straight into my eBay template as well. So it's there. That way I know it's exactly the same. And a long time ago, I used to, how shall I say it? I used to write a spreadsheet than I did in eBay. That makes no sense because then if you do miss that item or you have to find it or there's some sort of issue with it, you've just made it a little more complicated to find because what you've got in your sheet, your tracking is not the same as what's in eBay. And then you're just relying upon just a number, a SKU number, which if you made a mistake in that, now you've got to, now it's even tougher to find because now you've got the titles different, the SKU number's different. So it's great if you're tracking your items at home through a spreadsheet or something like that, which you should be, by the way. Use that same title, make that title of your item. If you've got a title column in your sheet, make that title your eBay listing title. Like do it the same. That way you don't have to type it twice. You type it once. And the great thing is too, like if you're using programs like Excel, if you type an item and you start typing it out and you've typed one like that before, you might find one that's exactly the same, like the little drop-down list comes out and says, hey, maybe it's one of these, and you can select that. You don't have to finish typing it all. So that's what I do, and it works really well. It's rare that I mess up a title now. It can still happen. There's a few ways it can happen, but for the most part, I don't. No, I understand what you're saying. Very sneaky about sell similar. When an item doesn't sell, you're given the choice between relist or sell similar. But some people want to sell similar to other items they see, other people's items. To go in and fill in all the information, they just fill in what's different on theirs. I think that's the riskier way. Selling similar against your own, you could do that. Just remember to delete the ended item because you don't want to go in and sell similar to it again if you forget. Just make sure you do that. And you do that with relist too. Like I'll relist items and then it'll say, hey, your item didn't sell. And then it changes the status to relisted. And I just delete all the relisted items, like that notification of it. So that way I don't, you know, they're just gone. I just want to start fresh. Do you do batches or edited drafts? I make 20 listings at a time with one category, add title and photos on iPhone. When I edit the draft, the title pre-fills a lot of the body of the item specifics. Not so much. I do in a way because I'm batching my listing. So I guess maybe, I'm not sure I totally answered that question right, but so we're batching the listings. Let's see. Thomas lost a pair of shoes a week ago and took 2 hours to realize he was wearing them. Well, at least you found them. Your inventory system worked. When in doubt, put the item on your body and then you'll know where it is. So do you, when your item is unsold and you have to relist, you just relist or sell your own item similar? Some say it has an effect, some doesn't. I don't really think it has an effect, the sell similar part, but I would say that when you relist the item, change something about it. Price by a penny, because I think that does force the eBay search engine to sort of re-index that item and look at it again, which could push you up in search, which could increase your visibility, which could get you a sale. So I would say that, but I don't know that anybody's ever really proven beyond a shadow of a doubt that sell similar is any better than relisting. And I think there are some hurdles with the sell similar that you have to be careful with. I really don't understand why eBay has both in a lot of cases, because it seems like a lot of people use sell similar to sell exactly the same item again. So it's not similar, it's identical. Oh, they're saying, oh, if you got one that's sort of like it, maybe it's a different color, different size, but that doesn't seem very useful to me, especially if you're doing clothing, because it's tricky, because the clothing is usually going to be a little different. It's going to be different photos, different size, different color, even if it's the same brand, you know, same fit. So that's just my opinion. Right. And Sneaky says, you know, the sell similar will present as a new listing and not as an item that failed to sell, which I think with the relisted, when you change something about it that's material, like the price, I somewhat the same thing to the eBay. You know, eBay has to somewhat re-index that listing, but I can't prove either one of those, honestly. So experiment with it and see which one you like better. I think they're both valid. So you can definitely try some and see if there's a difference between them, but it's just hard to really prove it either one way or the other. You need like a huge sample size over a long period of time, and that's doesn't really make sense. I would just pick one and do it. I need to train my wife to list. Have to get on that. She wants to do it. Need to make the time. Yeah, Ed, we did a video. What was it, last week, Kaaren?
We do videos every week.
About our relationship, though, and how eBay helped save it.
That was Monday.
Yep, or it was Monday.
Thanks for watching.
Oh, it was 2 days ago. Gosh. I forget what time. So, and we talked about that, like having your significant other being part of your business. I think it's huge. It has tremendous possible great benefits if you approach it the right way. So, you know, maybe your wife will be interested in that as well, Ed. Be careful, as I think sell similar carries over quantity. Yeah. Quantity is the weird variable in eBay that can just really mess you up if you don't get the right things. Nevermore, thanks for the super chat. I appreciate it. Been taking photos for an hour and listing, he says. Thanks, and really appreciate you helping the channel. Darren, I think I missed yours earlier, or not Darren, who was it? Was it Rob earlier? It was Rob earlier. Yeah. And I think I missed it earlier. I'm very sorry. I got, I'm a little bit scatterbrained today. But thank you guys for super chats. Really appreciate you helping out the channel. Always very much appreciated. And we got a lot of great fans of the channel here, so that's important.
Yeah, you read Rob. You just didn't say it.
I read it. I just didn't say it. I'm sorry. I'm getting senile in my old age. For garage sales, I carry hand wipes and spray Lysol. Yeah, that's not a bad idea, but not a bad idea at all. I've been burned before with quantity. I've learned to check it. Yeah, quantity counts on eBay are really tricky. We talked about that last night as a glitch. The quantity counts on your listings can get messed up, and when you relist a quantity count listing, it can sometimes reset back to the original quantity you had, which then means it's showing more than what you had potentially. And that's a problem when you sell something you no longer have. So always be extra vigilant about anything you have a quantity count on eBay. You need to have a day out the bins with Prof and Kaaren. Yeah, we've done a bins video or two, have we not, Kaaren? I feel like we have, although it has been a little while.
Yeah, every time we do a meetup, we do it.
Do you put a higher price on your listings expecting lowball offers? I have been experimenting around with pricing right near the top of the market as compared to recent completeds, and it seems to be somewhat successful. It's a little too early to say, but obviously if you put an item up for a higher amount, in general, an offer is going to be higher than it would be if you put it for a lower amount, right? If you list an item at 50 bucks, you're more likely to get a $30 offer. If you list it at $35, you might get a $30 offer, but you're probably going to get a $20 offer, 22 bucks or something like that. I mean, that's just kind of the way people think. You know, they're going to somewhat price it based on what you're asking and their best offer. So I think you should always, you know, I used to not believe that, but if you're not interested in a quick flip method, the sort of the fast nickel versus a slow dime. I don't even think it's a slow dime. I think it's more like a slow quarter. I mean, I think you should price higher, honestly, with your items. I think you should price near the top of the recent sold market. Listing is great, that your item is great, and then it's worth it because somebody else's was. So if you see that, you know, there's one item that sold for 50 bucks and then all the rest sold in the $20 to $30 range, why not price yours at 45 bucks? You know, it takes just as long to list it. And I don't always buy the argument that it takes longer to sell. Like that's not entirely true in all cases. So don't be afraid of that. If you can sit on your items a little bit longer in general, why you wouldn't care anyway. Now, granted, you're tying up your capital a little longer, but you know, you're getting potentially sometimes a lot larger profit in certain cases. So I believe in pricing higher, and you can always put best offer. And you know, if you price your item at 50 bucks with a best offer, and somebody offers you 20, and you come down to 40, you've come down 20%. There's a chance they might offer 30 at the next turn, even you might even get around 35, and you've still, you know, gone way down. But if you price your item at 30 bucks and they give you a best offer of 20 or 18, not much room to go down. Like I'm seeing that right now. Like I've got some jeans that are best offers, and some of these jeans are only around $25. And it's like, what kind of best offer am I really going to get? You know, I mean, most people are going to want to best offer that at like 15 bucks or something. And I really don't want to sell them for that cheap. So it doesn't even really make sense sometimes to put that best offer on a lower priced item, in my opinion. It's better to have it a bit higher near the top end of the market, the recent solds, and then just see what you can get. Best offer is great. Buyers like it. I think sellers like it too. Don't be afraid of low ball offers. I've had people who've made on their 5th offer, I took it. And they started out really low, and they just realized, he's not going to take that. So they went up, you know, and I would counter offer. You can counter offer, which is great. You can't make big money unless you ask for big money. There you go. I like that. Thanks for answering. Amazing people off to the thrift. Aaron, what are you talking about? The Charlotte one sucks. The bins?
Auctions.
What auctions?
Salvation Army auctions.
Oh, Salvation Army auctions. Oh, I don't even know if, do any of our Salvation Armies do auctions? I don't think they even do it around here.
Not anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. Never auto decline. I know, right? Always counter no matter how low. I like that, Just Pac-Man. That's a good strategy. I mean, I usually counter too, but sometimes if it's super low, I'll admit it. And sometimes if it's super low compared to my ask, I do just decline and move on. Because sometimes I want to see, now that they have 5 offers a person can make, you know, they got plenty of time to move up. And so if they make a decent jump up for a count, like if I've got an item listed for 30 bucks and somebody, and usually I have on their auto decline at a certain point anyway, but if somebody offers me, like if I don't have that on, somebody offers me like 12, I usually just decline and move on. I want to see if they'll move up any. And if they come back at like 13, I'm like, all right, this person's, you know, they're trying to get it like ridiculous price. Like I'm not even sure I'm going to make any money if I sell it that low. So I will just do it, you know, I'll just do it a bit higher and let them negotiate against themselves, guys. Remember, when you mention a number in negotiating, you kind of lose, because then the next offer is going to be below that. So I know some people are saying they never decline, they always counter, but I could argue that if someone offers a low number and you just decline, their next number, like you already get that space in between. Like, let's say somebody offers you 12 bucks for something you have listed at 30, and you counter offer for 26. Well, you know, now they kind of know what you'll take. So now they want to get a percentage off of that. So they might come back in at like 18, you know, or 17. So you still got, you know, that range there. You've already cost yourself $4. Whereas if you have an item listed at 30 and they offer 12 and you just decline, and they come back at 18, you've already gained $6 and you didn't have to do anything. You know, that they're negotiating against themselves. So, I mean, I could argue that if the offer's too low, you should probably just let it go. So, Diana, thank you so much for that super chat. This is for the whiteboard. That's great. I hope it was helpful. I figured I couldn't really explain all this like without a visual representation. And I just knew I could write it out a little better. And, you know, forgive my handwriting. It's terrible. But I tried to make it as legible as possible. So thank you very much, Diana. That's very nice of you. I just did a $36 start, offered 15, we settled on 30. Yeah, there you go. You know, I don't know. There's just different, we should do a show about best offer. Like that alone, the psychology there would be an interesting show, because I think there's a lot that goes on there that is, you know, is kind of behind the scenes we have to think about. But maybe we'll do that maybe this week or next week coming up. But I think there's a lot to the strategy of best offer that we probably gloss over. We just see as a number when you're not really paying attention to what number it is. And, you know, the first number is a little bit important, but the second number is really important that someone offers you, because now you've kind of seen how willing they are to negotiate. And I like to play my cards, keep my cards close to the vest, and, you know, not show my hand until I'm ready. I guess it's a poker player in me, but I just think the more you mention a number at the beginning, the more you kind of shoot yourself in the foot, you know, just like in real estate, for instance. So I think you could probably, you know, let that person sort of negotiate against himself and just see how you can get, you know, you want to try to get the maximum you can, obviously, for your item. You've got an interested buyer. If somebody makes you a best offer, now you just need to figure out if you can make a deal or not. So that's really what it comes down to. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for stopping by today. I hope the show was helpful and informative on how you can make a couple grand a month on eBay in less than an hour a day once you get to that high enough level to sort of get your product rolling through, and then you just have to maintain it. So please hit the like button before you leave if you enjoyed the content. It lets me know and YouTube know that I'm doing a great job. And as always, check out the description for helpful links and so on, or our stuff, our equipment stuff we use, and all that sort of thing. So thank you, Krillin, right at the end here with a super chat again. That's awesome, man. But we appreciate it. We'll be back and see you guys definitely on Friday in a couple days, and maybe even tomorrow. Who knows? It's just hard to say what this week's going to bring. So I hope you guys have a great rest of your Wednesday, and I'll talk to you really soon. This is Prof Sales saying good sales to you.